And yeah, episode 4 of Lyrical Ones, man. And yeah, that was a really, Cheddy, my apologies. Where is she still on here? Yeah. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Cheddy.
she is.
Yes.
Oh, there
Yeah,
she is.
awesome. See, that's why these things are important right at the beginning. So, but she doesn't, I don't see her on my screen for some reason. Cheddy.
Hey, what's up, Cheddy?
What up?
Cheddy, how's it been for the last 5 years with Ella? How's your experience as well as your transition from artistry to admin?
Yeah, no, it's been really great. I just love that I have something as of culture, like with hip hop, how we can just integrate that with something so positive. And I think you've heard it from me before, like especially with like faith-based. When I first heard of LO and I seen videos and I searched you guys like on Instagram, like I was hella on you guys, and I was like just watching. I was like, dude, these guys are hella dope. Like, you know, I've seen like, no shade or anything, but I've seen like other faith-based music and videos and spoken word, and yeah, it wasn't really up to like what I feel like it could have been up to. And LO is definitely, it's always been like up to par, especially in terms of quality in lyrics and also just what we stand for. So it's always been like amazing for me, even before I was a part of LO. And then being a part of LO, I learned a lot of faith and also culture and just the transition from artistry from being an artist to admin. It's still quite new to me, but the things that I'm doing is not new. So, which is why I'm excited to use the skills that I have, especially in my actual career, to help out with LO and like hopefully do it like full time. Because I'll be sewing into something that, like, you know, I hella believe in, which is LO. I believe in everything that we stand for, especially like our mission and vision. And I just want to like sew into that. Yeah, like the past 5 years has been really good. We had vacation for like a year. But even then, like even being on vacation for a year, like, you know, I would talk with my cousin Ben, like, oh my goodness, like LO needs to come back. Like, it's definitely something missing. There's nothing like LO out there. And I'm not being biased. That's just something that I knew before being part of LO. So yeah, it's been really great.
Cool. Hey, last thing, you know, LO, yeah, we have a mission and vision on paper, but we don't promote it. But like, what is LO's mission and vision to you?
Oh my goodness. It is like what it is to me. It's being able to like not only be creative and vocal, but also like bring in like our pretty much like our belief to the forefront of what is happening right now, such as injustice, such as just like, actually, like for me, it's really mainly the injustice that's going on right now. And what it means to me is that we're just doers of what we actually like do poetry on, what we do music on. And a lot of these things, like we do this in real life, especially like for what's happening right now. I know that like some of our LO members are out there on the front line protesting against, you know, social injustice. And for something like that, like I feel like when it really comes down to things like this, a lot of times we kind of shy away from it, or we kind of, you know, people starts getting like too religious. They don't think that we should be out there. But the fact that LO stands for this and that the artists are like out there active, it shows a lot. And that's part of what it means to me.
Well, first and foremost, hello, Cheddy. And I don't know if you formally met Cineo, but he's been rocking with us in a lot of events via Zoom and also at shows prior to this in real life. But yeah, just wanted to actually do a little Zoom introduction. If you guys want, and if you're wondering about the mask, this is usually what we do. We let Cineo share about why he's rocking the mask.
So yeah, for those that don't know, I rock the mask as a way to keep down.
I didn't even know
You trip off it.
I know it takes a while for people to consume and digest what's going on. So yeah, there's the whole thing is about being able to have a sense of anonymity and privacy in a world of overindulgence and, you know, trying to create celebrity and idolism. And to me, this is everything on a symbolic note. Exactly, live it up. You got to enjoy it. You got to. Because you think about it, right? We always are so quick to perform, and what you don't get back is your privacy, right? Once you become a figure in public, that's it. You have no privacy. Everybody thinks they have access and entitled to who you are. And to me, I'm not going to let that happen. I'm not going to I personally will not be a commodity. I won't let my ego get involved. Like, once the mask is off, no one's going to care who I am. But once the mask is on, everybody got something to say. So yeah, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. That was dope.
But I do have a question, actually. I want to know, like, do you remember the moment that you got involved in hip hop or the hip hop culture? Like, when was that moment when it dawned on you, like, I need this in my life? Because Lyrical Ops is every bit a part of that. And so when did that become part of your life?
That's a good question. It's definitely, it's always been around, you know, being younger, especially when I come from a really big family and our ages ranges. So I have a lot of older cousins who just always had played a lot of hip hop. And as I got older and started, like, you know, getting more into church, actually, I didn't know where, like, I would fit in what I believe hip hop can do for people versus, you know, what the church thinks that, you know, hip hop isn't something that that is something that we should be doing. So it wasn't that that affliction, and I had that opposition when I started getting more into hip hop. So I believe that me being even more into hip hop would probably be when I joined LO, because that's when I was, like, more aware and I was more closer to people that were actually good at it. Because I have a lot of family that does music too, but, you know, like, with their insights and, like, their vision on things, it wasn't the type of music that I actually, like, listened to. It was more so, like, it was just catchy on the beat side or on the hook. But, like, with LO, just, like, listening to the other artists such as, like, OD and Son the Gifted, I was just like, okay, I need to step it up because they're hella good. So I would say I was more aware when I joined LO, but in terms of when I started, like, loving hip hop, it was really from a young age. Yeah. I would probably say, like, maybe middle school.
Was there an album or, like, an artist that you remember looking up to that was, like, kind of like, that's the one?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it was definitely Lauryn Hill.
Okay.
And with her, it was really because, you know, I actually knew of Lil Kim before I knew who Lauryn Hill was. But with Lauryn Hill, what really fascinated me was her lyrics. And it just goes back to that. And also what she talked about, because it's just so much different. So it was definitely her album. It was the Miseducation, and I was gonna say someone else, but it was definitely Lauryn Hill. And because she was a strong woman, that was also what intrigued me about her. Yeah, she's always been really dope.
Okay, I feel it. I definitely understand the concept of being introduced to Little Kim before having Lauryn Hill in your life. So, you know, it is definitely a shift, you know, a paradigm shift, if you will, in terms of the, you know, what you think hip hop is versus what you learn it to be for yourself. And then on top of that, like what you said, like you got with LO and then got to know better hip hop, which I think is like the compliment, right? Like LO is known for like being progressive and trying to be, you know, preventive or restorative, and like, you know, how do you utilize social consciousness in a very artistic way? But more importantly, there's a level of quality there, and I think that's what you highlighted. So
yeah, definitely quality. Because even, you know, I bring my cousins, and I even brought my sisters to some of our events, and even for them it was like different, because it's crazy because of you know, like how aware we are, but a lot of people out there, especially like I could say, like, you know, from my family, what they see hip hop as is just or good hip hop is pretty much anybody that can just rap or has like flow. But when they came, which one was it? And we just got like so much good feedback. It was I think it was one of the Undivided, and I brought my family over because Ben was performing. My cousin Ben was performing, and it was so different for them, because a lot of times we think that like a catchy beat is what makes hip hop really good, but when you start like becoming so much more aware to lyrics and like also perspectives, you kind of integrate with that. Because like for me, going from Lil Kim, like this is like middle school, and I had no business listening to these kind of music, but I started talking like that too. And I started talking like how I started talking like whoever I listened to. And even to the point sometimes like I would dress like that. So, you know, you get influenced by that. And having someone like Lauryn Hill, and then even having people who are just really good at what they do and what they speak about, it touches you like on a different level. It's almost like one of my cousins was like, dude, I feel like I went to church and I learned something. But nobody was really like, you know, touching on that. But it was more so like when you just listen to music, it's very you get it's a very like different outlook, just from listening to like this type of music and then moving on to something else and listening to that kind of music. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, it's been good though.
Okay. Cheddy, thank you very much. I totally get where you coming from, because it is the thing where you know, you get indoctrinated with messaging and kind of like what you think it's supposed to be, and then before you know it, like you start wearing polos and trying to put on a backpack all the time to have all your raps. So, you know, before it's the hoodies and it's the fitted caps, and then it turns into snapbacks. So, you know, hip hop is ever influential, and with that influence, of course, you're gonna have something like Lyrical Ops that kind of creates this overpowering, you know, vessel of positive energy within hip hop that has now drawn in people like you and me.
Yeah.
I'm the infant baby, so I know nothing, and that's how I'm gonna approach this. You know, as they say, you know, we wasn't supposed to make it past 05. Jokes on you, we still alive. 5 years, here we are. 5 years. So this is a way to celebrate and highlight all of the work that's been done within Lyrical Opposition and moving forward in the future. And with that, I would like to go on to OD the Wordsmith. OD, how you doing?
What's popping? What's popping? I'm gonna be on my Timberland hype. So if you hear the baby in the background, just know that, you know what I'm saying, that's how we're doing it. Shout out to the Queen Ali, you know what I'm saying? But can I just make two observations? I'm gonna make a memorable observation and then an up-to-date observation. So memorable observation, I first met Cheddy when my first battle rap was in San Jose. I think I was up against a dude named Life, and Cheddy's been tough. You've been rocking tough with Lyrical Ops. I think one kind of like implicit aspect of Lyrical Ops, aside from the music, aside from the mission, aside from the vision, is the like real deep rooted bonds and family that is developed. And Cheddy, you've been around for a cool minute now, and you've grown as an artist. Clearly, you're now growing as a professional in regards to the admin stuff. So I tip my hat to you, Cheddy. Keep doing what you do. I see you. Good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. And then, for sure. Now the up-to-date observation, Cineo, sir, I knew you had the bars, but your host game, if you don't have like a tie and like a coffee mug next to you, the next Lyrical Ones, bro, you're a talk show host, bro. Like you need like a drum, like, and a bass player to like welcome you on to your, like, I'm just saying, bro, you got it, dude. You got it. Host with the most, Mr. Cineo. Like, and with that mask, you need a finishing move. I don't know what it is, but if you don't have a finishing move, I'm gonna feel disrespected. I'm just saying.
So as the years progress, right, we'll have a new finishing move. So the upcoming finishing move is going to be called Let's Get a Gospel, which is coming soon. You'll see how that finishing move looks and how it's going to be impactful to all those around, right? Every person I encounter, it is a match. And once you get with the Let's Get a Gospel, it's a wrap. I've already won. I'm the champion.
Bro, you're ready to fight anybody at the drop of a hat.
It's not so much a fight as much as it is a way for me to challenge everyone to be their best self. You know?
I love how you challenge the idea of a faith-based group with the name Sin. I feel like I can't even talk right now. You know what I'm saying? The contrast is beautiful. That's not the word I was going for, but you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, man, that's beautiful stuff. So good stuff, man. Good stuff. So yeah, I'm OD the Wordsmith. I've been known to be swift with the wordplay. You know, I can be slick with my verbs. Sometimes I make them do just what the verse say. You know, that's how I get down. But I'm retired, man. I'm just I'm a pops. This tree, that's a willow tree. That's my baby in the background, doing my dad life. You know, life's good, man. I'm blessed, and life's good.
Okay. So take me back to the beginning then, right? You talking about being retired. You talking about being a father. You talking about life being good. Let's rewind the clock. Let's go back. And when was it that you decided, like, I'm gonna rap? Before the retirement, before I'm done, like, when was the moment you're like, I'm OD the Wordsmith?
Okay. So prior to meeting with Christian Bustos, you know what I'm saying, who is the Professor X of this whole joint, I'm the type of person who likes to try things. So, you know, rap obviously is a dominant aspect of American culture, whether people want to believe it or not. So hip hop more specifically. So I'm like, let me try this. So I wrote a couple things. I had some things under my belt. No biggie. Hooked up with a homie of mine, and he was like, hey, I rap. I've seen you. You're pretty good. Let's try something. So we recorded some things. But then I never took it seriously. It was just kind of a hobby. It's something I like to do. It's for fun, kicks and giggles or whatnot. Then I met up with CM Bustos. That's not his name, but I love calling him that, Christian Bustos. And he was like, bro, you're good. You're Christian. let's work together. So I'm like, all right. To this day, nobody works harder than Christian Bustos, in my opinion, as far as like in this hip hop game goes. So as far as like organizations, as far as all of that good stuff. So yeah, seeing his work ethic, seeing his drive, seeing his like absolute raw passion for the art and for the game and all that good stuff, I was like, okay, it's time to take this hobby and turn it into something that's real. I support this man's vision. I want to run with this man's vision. So that's what gave birth to OD the Wordsmith.
So you heard it here first. Christian Bustos helped give birth to OD the Wordsmith. These are the questions and answers that we understand how this legacy will be upheld into the future. Do you understand what is Unfortunately, Christian Bustos couldn't be with us today, but Cross, who's very busy, we will have an insider's perspective as to the mysterious man Christian Bustos.
Yeah, that dude works pretty hard, you know, whether he's getting paid or not. But as far as OD, back to OD, he would not change his name to the Wordsmith for like 2 more years. So yeah, he had to take a branding workshop 2 years in a row in order to differentiate himself with other ODs, other overdoses, other Onyx Dragons. And it is not overdose. OD
It is not overdose.
What does it mean
overdose.
anyway? Nobody knows what OD means.
Everybody knows what it means now because freaking SV, it was supposed to be like underground classified information, like insiders only. And then SV always wants to put out my government name. Onyx Dragon. Okay, so first, here's a little trivia. Here's a little trivia. I'm gonna let the insiders, or the outsiders in on this one. First rap name, Big Greg. That's it. Big Greg. Big Sean, Big Pun, Big Greg, right? That I didn't like that. So I was like, that was a temporary name. So then I came up with Dragonics, which was a mixture of the word dragon and a mixture of the word onyx. Dragon spits fire. It is a mythical creature honored and revered in multiple cultural backgrounds. It's just cool. I'm a lover of martial arts. Dragons are highly renowned in the world of martial arts. So enough said in that realm. Onyx is a stone. It is underappreciated as far as its value and its comparison to other stones. It is a black stone. So I'm like, all right, put the two together. Onyx, dragon, onyx, put it together, Dragonics. But nobody could say it. Nobody could say Dragonics. They looked at it and they're like, what is this? And they would mispronounce it. So I was like, well, let's just flip them and then just do initials, just OD. Onyx Dragon, just OD. So OD was the name. Nobody, like everyone thought overdose. One time I was hanging out with the clique and we love inside jokes. So everybody kept saying, hey, nice to meet you. And they would shake my hand. This is my first time meeting them. And I would say, I'm Greg, what's your name? And they would say, oh, my name is the Wordsmith. And everyone would start laughing because one of my lyrics was, I'm a wordsmith, swift with the wordplay, slick with the word, da-da-da-da. So it just was kind of an inside thing. And then once Christian was like, as far as branding is concerned, you need a different name. So I was like, let's just go with the Wordsmith. Y'all call me that anyway. So I'll be OD the Wordsmith. So that's the history of the name.
Okay. So OD the Wordsmith, right? So take me through, what is the journey like? What is it to kind of be like, to come across them and then to be immersed in the world of? Like, explain that to me.
I think it's like, if you've ever done something for fun, for entertainment, if you've ever been a part of an activity that was so engaging, you lost track of time, or if you ever been on a walk or something where you're just walking, not to get to any particular destination, but you're just walking, and then you realize, damn, I've walked a bit. I'm way further along than I anticipated. That kind of, embodies what this was. Because for me, it was, hey, I like this dude, Christian Bustos, right? And then his homies became my homies. Their jokes became my jokes. Their bond became my bond. And in that, we made each other better as people, as well as artists. We just enjoyed the process. And then 2-3 years into it, we're like, oh, snap. People are looking at us. People are rocking with us. People are appreciating us. People are looking up to us. It wasn't something that was, on my end, it was not intentional. On my end, it was not strategic. On my end, it was purely for the art on an equal level as the bond in the relationships. One didn't outweigh the other. So it wasn't something that I could be like, it's not something that I could, break down so other people can replicate it, other than find people you enjoy doing the craft with and do the craft with them. Enough said.
Okay. So, I mean, with that, is there no chance that you could come back to Bless the Mic?
Well, so, I mean, I'm not going to say no chance, son, that's what you got. But I will say that right now I should turn the camera. I'm working on other elements of music. So right now I am a pastor at Oak Life Church. Been a pastor 4 or 5 years now. Nope, I'm lying to you. I've been with that church for 5 years. I've been a pastor for 1.5 years, almost 2 years. And I lead worship music there. So right now, the extent of my music is worship music and lo-fi hip hop, because I'm in school. So when I'm doing my studies, it's lo-fi hip hop, the best way for me to function, or jazz. And if it's not that, I'm looking at worship music to, find new songs to lead the congregation. So because I'm not consuming hip hop the way I used to, it's not going to come out of me the way it used to. That being said, I'm learning way more about music in general. So who's to say what the future holds? I might come out with a track and I might do the hook for one of Figo's tracks, and hop on 8 bars on the bridge or something. Who knows? But right now, while in school, while being a new dad, while being a husband, while being a pastor, while being a student, chances are you ain't gonna hear nothing out of me.
So you've heard it here first again, ladies and gentlemen. We will have the first album of lo-fi worship music coming from OD, the Wordsmith, in the next 3 to 4 years. Be on the lookout. It's going to be a lot about his life, his relationships, whether it be him as a father or a husband, and him dealing with a congregation of people who may be of the belief or not of the belief and conflicted with the belief. So I am super interested to see what you got coming out. Thank you for that. Yeah. That was a gem amongst many gems. I think that was like a blessing in disguise, if you will, because I see what you did there. You didn't want to say it, and so I took the liberty to say it for you. Thank you. But on that note, like, what is your hopes for the future of LO? Like, what do you see LO continuing on, and like, what is your role within that?
Oh, that's beautiful. Okay, I'm gonna ask you this question. So this might be an insider's thing. So if you are not inside this realm of knowledge, I apologize. Cindy, are you familiar with the show Avatar: The Last Airbender?
Of course.
Okay, so I think that, you know what I'm saying, I will be to you, to Figo, to any other of the LO artists that are out there doing that thing, I will be Uncle Iroh. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that's all I could do. Let's have some tea. You know what I'm saying? I'll spit some game. You know what I'm saying? I'll call you out if you want me to. We're going to have that relationship. But as far as, on the battlefield, I'm going to let you do your thing. It's your generation, man. Yes, Figo, you need to watch Avatar, bro. 3 seasons, absolute fire. You know what I'm saying? Leaves from the vine, falling so slow. Bro, get on it, man. I'm telling you, it's fire.
So as OD tries to make everyone cry who knows the story of General Iroh and that song, one, thank you not for trying to make us cry at this moment, but to kind of break down that metaphor, right? So, you know, what OD is pretty much saying right now is when it comes to the LO crew, as they go on and challenge the societal standards and all of the oppressive measures that have been put before us, right? Using hip hop, faith, and just the perseverance of good energy, what OD is saying he's gonna do is he's gonna have these comeback moments that won't be more or less albums. They'll be like little singles and EPs, because if he's trying to underplay the importance of General Iroh and what he's done for the other like cast, right? So let's break that down, right? He said, like, you know, me and Figo and the other artists, right? General Iroh took a role of being like the father figure, right? The paternal leader, right? He was about wisdom and guidance. And when the time called for him to show up, right, OD, when the time called for him to show up, what did he do? He showed up. So in that capacity, like I said, the Lo-Fi Worship Hip Hop album is gonna come. It won't be necessarily an album, be more of an EP, right? He will be inspired. He'll have no choice to you know, remember when he put in them reps, he was locked down, but what did he do? He worked it out, right? And he busted out and it was nothing. So in this time, right, he's gonna chill, he's gonna play the background, and he's gonna support from afar. But I am telling you, there will be a point when OD cannot, like the dragon will wake. You see how the multiple entendres, bars, you see bars, I have to say that, bar. So we're talking about the dragon, the Onyx dragon, right? The legendary Onyx dragon, who's now in slumber, right? But eventually he will wake and he will rise. So, you know, I appreciate you taking on that role and being honest. Like a lot of people, you know, sometimes they don't understand the level of responsibility that comes with being a part of an organization like Lyrical Ops, and, you know, kind of all of the energy that makes or takes away from a person, right? Like you got to be mindful of your capacity and how to sustain things. And so it's great. And I'm comforted knowing that OD is going to come back in a vicious capacity, because that's what General Iroh did. So I'm going to look forward to the future.
Yo, just call me Uncle Iroh D. That's it. You know what I'm saying? We're going to be sipping tea. You know what I'm saying? Spitting fire. That's it.
Okay. So is there anything that you would want anyone to know that, like, when it comes to the importance of LO's work and what it means to you? Like, you know, this is 5 years in the making and you've been a part of that journey. And I think that, you know, you being an insider, you have a perspective that is valuable, and you know, we should highlight and uplift that. So what do you have to say to people?
I'll say that it's not a trend. What Lyrical Ops is about is not a fad that is shallow or for the sake of attention or trying to be anything other than it actually is. And what it actually is, I know the word is cliche, but it is for sure 100% a movement. It's for sure 100% a bond of a sibling family bond of individuals who are putting in work. And as much as it's fun and exciting to, you know, consume all the positive energy and all the bars and all the hype, that we should not remain consumers. A dream, a vision, it takes work, it takes people. So rather than just consume what Lyrical Opposition is or has, join, like do your part. And your part could be anything and everything from bars, as far as performing, to the admin, to just hyping up, to showing up to events. It could be financial, it could just be your time, it could be your prayers. It could be just reposting. Like social media is the platform now. Every repost counts and takes seconds. So my thing would be like, understand that everything about LO is authentic, real, raw, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, be a part of the movement. Don't just watch it.
Okay. That's what's up. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. OD, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for giving us that insight and sharing those valuable gems with us. And as he said, like, get involved, right? LO is the Army, better yet the Navy. We make potatoes and gravies. It's for the babies. Like, come on, like, what we doing out here? It's one of those things that, you know, it's only a movement if people are moving within it, right? And so we implore you, we hope to engage you and bring you into the LO family. It is ever extensive, as he highlighted, right? The contrast of being a faith-based organization, but you got somebody like Sin, you know, it's all inclusive and it's all encompassing. And I think that that's what we need more than ever, is a place of safety and security for people to come and enjoy these positive vibes and be able to get these gems from people who have been able to transition into the point of saying, my life is good. Like, you have to really appreciate a person that's able to say that out loud at a time like this. I'm a father, I'm a husband, life is good. And, you know, it's not to give sole credit to one thing or the other, but LO's a part of that story. LO is a part of that movement, right? You talked about community and having those relationships, and those things push you, they encourage you, and they help you sustain through all the storms, the trials and tribulations. And here we are now, 5 years deep, and people are still coming back. So OD, thank you. Thank you very much. Can't wait for the EP to come, you know, when it does. So
I dig it, man. I appreciate your energy, man. I appreciate your insight, man. Thank you, man. Thank you for the question, man.
I appreciate, especially you. Like, I appreciate you giving me the space and bringing me to the stage all those many times at SS State when, you know, it was my turn to get on the mic. And you know, you always gave people the energy, the bars, and the ability to, like, show out as artists, right? So, you know, I'm going to keep it moving with the artistry. That's really what I'm here to do. And, you know, I love the LO brand. I know that I talked to Cross yesterday about what love means in the LO brand. You know, we'll talk about that at a later time, at a later date. But it is something where, you know, it's about bringing people in. And I think that's kind of what everybody's encompassing right now. So,
right.
OD, thank you.
Man, I love it, y'all. So I'm gonna get back to these different kind of bars, these study bars, and I will catch y'all on the flip. Love y'all. I'll let y'all know when that EP drop. Figo, still waiting on you to send me the beat, man. That's it.
Oh yeah, man. There's a few coming your way.
All right, fam. I'll holler at y'all later.
So as we proceed to give you what you need,
2020, Mother Teresa.
Mother Teresa.
Yeah, you knew that. You caught that. Had some really insightful conversations, artistry of these two amazing artists, and Cineo, right on for leading that conversation. But yeah, man, how y'all feeling? How y'all living? Whatever with Jermaine, woke not broke.
What's up? I'm good over here. Again, just trying to, again, take care of all the responsibilities, man. All the responsibilities. Shout out to Odie, the wordsmith, living that grown life, you know? So there's a lot of responsibility. You got to take care of things we got to be mindful of. And so just trying to hold it down.
Yeah, salute to the family folks, man. I haven't signed up for that yet. I recently got a puppy for my mom, and got sick, and just the responsibility, I was like, yo, I can only imagine a child. So salute to y'all, man, holding it down.
You can only imagine.
Yeah. Oh yeah, happy belated Father's Day. We should have hit OD with that too. Happy belated Father's Day.
For sure.
Salute to you guys, man, holding it down.
Say that to Jermaine too.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying to him.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was with Jermaine.
Okay.
I was just saying I missed OD on that one, but yeah, Jermaine's been holding it down, man.
Yeah. It's a thing. It's a thing, you know. And so her dad actually was like, I want to give you a formal praise for stepping in and holding it down. And you know, some folks don't stick around, and some folks step in and hold it down. And you know, it's a big thing. And you know, there's a part of it that just feels like, you know, I'm not going to take any, you know, too much praise for that, because it's not like, you know, why you do it. There's a part where it's like, you know, stuff has to be done, so we're going to take care of that. But there's a part where, you know, I do have to appreciate when someone acknowledges, you know, that it's not always easy, and it's not always pretty, but it is something that that does have rewards.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So we just jumping into it, man. Real organic. 5 years of this legacy. How's your journey been? What was your introduction to Lyrical Opposition?
Yeah, it's been crazy. I feel like the introduction was it was subtle, it was simple, but it was also enormous. You know what I mean? I know that I ran into Christian at a poetry event we were doing for our church, and you know, he was just like, yo, we're doing this thing in San Francisco. You know, if you want to come by and check it out, you know, it'd be dope. You know, we'd love to have you. And I'm like, okay, word. And I think it was really important to connect with him and other folks of like mind, because, you know, it's not something that I felt connected to at the church that I was at. There wasn't a heavy presence of like a hip hop culture. There wasn't much connection to the hip hop artists that were Christian. And so to be able to connect with other folks who knew the words to the songs, who heard about the newest album, who was anticipating the next albums from certain artists and stuff, it was like, you know, I want to say like a dream come true. But it was definitely a great blessing just to run into that, because it was something that I felt like, you know, I'm just gonna have to just like wing it out here in the Bay Area, and a lot of folks that are saved, and a lot of folks that know about this, much less are excited about it, much less, you know, are artists themselves or write rhymes themselves. And so it was almost like finding an oasis in the desert, and just being like, snap, like I didn't know that, one, this existed, but then two, that, you know, we could work together. So it was great connecting with everybody.
Word.
Yeah.
What's like one of your most memorable shows? I know you've done a ton, but with LO, that just
one
like
of the most memorable.
Yeah.
One of the most memorable. That's interesting. Two just came to mind. Okay. Both of which were at, if I'm not mistaken, were at the church that I attend now in Berkeley called the Way Christian Center. One was the night that we did this performance, two. So one was the ladies' night, right? One was a ladies' night, and it was in honor of Lauryn Hill. So it was just like nothing but like MCs that were women, and it was bananas. It was just bananas, and I mean, it was so packed. Hav mentioned to me the other day that probably everybody thought that Lauryn Hill was actually going to be there. So people like literally like showed up in droves, because it was like, why are so many people here? But at the end of the day, it was just amazing. And it was amazing to see how the artists represented what they said. The energy was just so crazy in that building. And then I think about another performance, and just, you know, again, doing some poetry that I've done before, whatever, which always kind of feels weird, because there's a part where you feel like, you know, you shouldn't do like older poems or whatever. But I just remember that this one kid like losing his mind, like just like, I can't believe what I just saw. I remember Christian being there and being like, dude, like, he is losing his mind. Like, do you see that? I'm like, dude, I do, and I don't know how to act about this, because this is like an old poem, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, there are those times, you know, if I could recollect where, you know, it was obvious that, you know, people were being inspired, encouraged, and ultimately, you know, invited into this space in which folks who are, you know, believers, you know, churchgoers and so forth can feel like they have room to be creative, feel like they have room to be influenced by and influence hip hop culture. You know, there's been a lot that has happened in the last number of years. And I feel like there's a lot of people that are feeling like they need to have more room than their, you know, church normally provides for themselves. And I think that that's why Lyrical Opposition is important, is because there's just like this vacuum oftentimes where people are feeling like, you know, I just can't get with only gospel or only contemporary Christian music. Like, I need somebody to bust a rhyme. And you know, I feel like Lyrical Opposition comes there to answer that call.
That's dope, man. I remember actually that series. I got to do the Marvin Gaye tribute, and I just remember how, like, thinking, wow, like, this is so dope, like honoring the greats and, you know, creating shows that revolve around these artists, you know, masterpieces that they created throughout their years.
Right,
highlighting the legacy. So yeah, that brought me back as you shared that. How was your transition from, you know, you're obviously always a poet, but like also being an author and writing your own book and being out there in the community and being an educator? How's that transition and that process?
You know, honestly, man, I started doing poetry back in high school, but I really started like getting more into education like right after college, or even like during college, because they created a youth ministry in which we were helping out at schools. We were helping out in the neighborhood over in Sub-Bernie Park. And so we were doing a lot of hands-on ministry, and that allowed me to really engage young folks just in educating them, whether it was about the word or, again, anything at school. And so I would say ever since, you know, 2008, 2009, it's been a thing where, you know, I've always kind of wanted to entertain both spaces. You know, I love what poetry does. I love what even hip hop, right? I love what lyrics and lyricism does. It gives people an opportunity to learn things while they're being entertained, but it cannot, and it oftentimes does not end there. You know, there are oftentimes times where I've literally read books because it was in a song. You know what I mean? Times where I've researched authors or speakers or teachers because somebody referenced them in a song that I love, that, you know, a respectable artist has spit. And, you know, there's a part where I felt like, you know, this is, I almost want to say like the appetizer, you know what I mean? And the entrees are the books, the classes, the workshops, where people really get an opportunity to figure out everything that was being said in the poems, and to figure out everything that was being said in the verses and so forth. And so I know that that's, both of those things have been on my heart, I would say, ever since I really started doing poetry, because I knew that poetry was a vehicle for education.
Powerful. Yeah, I'm a firm believer in that. It definitely was a vehicle for me too. And yeah, just thinking about the educators in my life that introduced me to poetry, you're like, whoa, like this thing really, it's a conversation, and conversations literally, you know, lead the world. Man, you know, I'm actually thinking about the first time I met you, and it wasn't even a full-on introduction. I remember we was at the Life is Living in Oakland, and I just peeped your shirt. It just said you was rocking the God Over Money. And at the time I was listening to a lot of Bizzo and that whole squad of music that was coming out from that camp. But then I just run into you later on at a LO event. I was like, oh wait, like I just kind of connected 2 and 2 together. And but yeah, like what I know you've mentioned, you know, your upbringing in Oakland. How's that influence your poetry and, you know, just the man you are?
I mean, it's been everything, you know. I think that I grew up in what I'm learning, right? I think what I'm learning, you know, the older you get, the more that things become clear about where you were and what was going on. But I grew up in more of a middle class household, a middle class, what I want to say neighborhood, but I really want to say like a middle class like block, right? Like there's if we were looking for places to stay back in June, I'm sorry, it's June now, so maybe like back in like April, and we were like, man, like where are we gonna stay? And like, you know, we gotta think about like the crime rate, right? So they have these maps where it's like light blue and darker blue, depending on how much crime happens over there. And if you go to my neighborhood, it's like crime was like everywhere around the block, but like my block was like this like little safe place. But the truth is that, you know, what that meant was that when I left my home, when I left my block, it would be like, what is going on out here? You know, I lived like 2 blocks from East 14th, 3 or 4 was 5 blocks from 73rd Avenue in Oakland. You know, and it was a whole different world, literally blocks away from where I lived. Leaving the block was a whole different world. You know, there was, I've seen crack. I've seen crack in the mouths of people that were my age when I was like 13 and younger, and being like, I don't even know what's in his mouth, but I'm not gonna like ask, right? So that's just his business. But, you know, there was this part where I didn't understand, much less feel comfortable with all the differences. You know, there was a part where I felt like, you know, why doesn't everybody live the way that I live? Why don't I live like some of the other people that I see? I ended up going to Montera for junior high school, and that's like this school in the hills. And just knowing that I don't fit in, but also knowing that like I did with certain folks, but even with them, like it was like, no, like I still don't really fit in with these folks, because some of the people who got into the school were like from the hood, and I'm like, we're Black, but that's about it that we got in common. You know, we both know the same rappers, but we don't really, you know each other. You know, our lives are not necessarily the same, you know, front to back. And so I think seeing all the differences, seeing the poverty, seeing the ugliness of poverty, you know what I mean? There were certain blocks you could drive on, walk on, and you just knew like you just need to get out. You know what I mean? Like no, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This is not where the kids need to come and play. This is not supposed to be safe. This is not about to be safe. And I think that from a very early age, I had a problem with poverty. I had a problem with injustice. And I think that growing up in Oakland also meant that I would run into people who were very fond of the Black Panther Party, very fond of, you know, Malcolm X and the revolutionaries of that time. I think that the people that encouraged me and influenced me to get more politically active and focused on social justice were just folks that I was destined to run into eventually. You know, the more, even as I get older, I run into people and I'm like, where were you guys? And I'm sure that they were like in the same places that I was in, but you know, we just had never met. And I think that there is a spirit in Oakland that is very much so influenced and empowered by, you know, the Black Panther Party. And because of that, you know, like they say, no justice, no peace. There will always be an element of Oakland that is like, we gonna be some writers, and it could be, you know, it could be 10 years from now, 30 years from now, 50 years from now. There is always going to be this element of, we didn't forget. we have not forgotten. And so I think that is also very much so part of what influences me and makes me who I am too.
Word.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that's powerful. Like straight up. Thanks for sharing. Also, I'm reflecting on like a point that you said of injustice and poverty, and you seeing that growing up. You're like, yeah, something's wrong with this. As you've gotten older, and you know, I'm thinking about your book and the title of it, "Woke Not Broke." What does that mean to you, and you know, why that title?
It means a lot. I think that it initially started as one thing and has grown the more that I've learned and the more that I've come to understand about the world. But I would say, because when I first started to run into people who loved social justice, I felt like it had to be, it was a black and a white thing. And I don't mean anything about race, but it's just in terms of, it was kind of like either you're in or you're out. And to be in meant that you were focused on social justice. This is how you dressed. This is how you looked. This is where you went. This is where you didn't go. This is what you didn't listen to. This is what you did. This is what you had. This is what you didn't have. And I think that for all intents and purposes, there were times in which I really delved in and embraced all of its tenets, if you will, and to varying degrees, you know, really sacrificed a whole lot in order to be affiliated, to be connected, to be supportive of, you know, the movement, if you will. And I think the older that I've gotten, the more that I've just come to understand that there are many ways to rebel. There are many ways to resist. There are many ways to begin the new world, if you will, the world that we want to create. And with that being said, there are just many different avenues that people take. I think that one thing that really influenced me when I began to think about the book and think about titles and such like that was understanding that when there was the Black Lives Matters protests back in 2014, 15, 16, and on, there was a rapper that was bailing out the protesters. And I was like, they do that? You know, I was like, wait, that's a different move, but that's a necessary move. You know what I mean? I could see if it was like, you know, like, oh, like that's weak. No, like that's fine that they're in jail. I was like, no, like, that's a necessary move. Somebody goes to jail for protesting and you're supporting, you know, what they're protesting for. There needs to be folks who are woke, but they're not broke though. You know what I mean? Like by no means are they, you know, putting pennies together. By no means are they trying to find a means to make ends meet. You know, they're not struggling. They are financially situated in a way where they can do many things, and they therefore can do many things that others can't do, you know, who don't have those financial means, or should I say that financial muscle and financial power. And so it really made me go, man, like people need to understand that, you know, if you really want to be down, you don't have to do it a certain way. You know, there are lanes for the educators, there are lanes for the folks who are into medicine, there are lanes for the folks who are into, again, poetry and artistic and expressions and art. There is lanes for everybody. And so I felt like, you know, as I've gotten older, again, we talked about responsibilities in the beginning, the more that I have to take care of myself and others, the more that I can't just think of, well, you know, I'm down for this, so I'm not gonna, you know, earn this or you know, move to acquire this and obtain that. And so it was like, there's got to be a way to kind of bridge these two worlds. One in which we are 100% focused on the community, and one in which we are 100% focused on taking care of ourselves and our families. There's got to be a way to do both. You know, there's got to be a way to maneuver and go back and forth. And so That has been something that I think that needed to be brought to light, and I'm starting to see some of it come to fruition. You know, I started to follow a lot of the rappers, the Jay-Z's, the Rick Rosses, the Jeezys, the you know, rappers who are like, yo, we gotta own stuff. You know, Killer Mike, you know, we gotta have our own property. We gotta have our Diddy's like, we gotta have our own Grammys, you know what I mean? Ice Cube was like, we gotta have our own Oscars. Like, there is so much that can happen, but needs to happen with money. And so since it needs to happen with money, there is a part where I am more encouraged to continue to learn about money management, and encouraging others to also do the same thing, you know? I think it is a skill that many people undervalue until they begin to understand how truly important it is to be able to not only manage money, but be able to resist with money, right? Like, there's a part where it goes like, the only way to resist is in the streets. And it's like, no, like, there's a way to use all that money that we can acquire and use that, you know, to further advance the causes that we care about. So that's really where it's been at.
Solid, man. And you know what? This brings up a conversation we've been having, and I'm thinking about Cineo and the rapper you mentioned. So I don't know if you guys have formally introduced. I got to introduce you guys, but this is Cineo, Jermaine, via Zoom. Y'all probably been actually in the same spaces. But yeah, the rapper that he mentioned was definitely like, his whole discography was like introduced to me via Cineo. So like, just, I don't know, I feel like I got to pass the rock to Cineo, and we've been having this conversation. So yeah, man, what are your thoughts as far as money management and what Jermaine is discussing?
Thank you for passing the rock. I like that double entendre.
See what I did there? Yeah.
But more importantly, just reflecting on what I've heard, like Jermaine has like accurately hit so many nails on the head that resonate on a multitude. For those of you who don't know much about the Bay Area, right? Like, there's a saying that I carry with me that is personal, right? It's like city life, town business, right? So I come from the city, right? And it's right next door to Oakland. It's right next door to the town, right? And there's always that reference, right? Where you headed to? Oh, I'm going to the city. Oh, I'm going to the town. And there's this duality, these dual identities that exist. And I feel like Jermaine really shed light on it by talking about what it means to grow up in Oakland and have kind of the Black Panther Foundation be something that helps create this identity that's much larger for everyone, right? Because right now, you look at the state of the world we live in, you know, when you're a Black man and you're faced with the police, and, you know, this isn't, nothing about this is new. The difference is we're at a different point in time when you can't flex, right? Your attention is all on what's happening to us. And so when you think about organization, you think about leadership, you think about empowerment, you know, you got to take into account what the Black Panthers have established, right? They had a charter, they had an organization. Like, I don't know if people have watched the Dave Chappelle special, but he highlights the only time the NRA ever, you know, an assault rifle ban was when the Black Panthers had stormed on the state capitol with and like, I've had the opportunity and honor to get to know some of the elders within the Black Panthers and have those conversations about how, you know, the law enforcement of the time was using the law to impose and infringe on everybody's free will. And here we are again, right? And so when you talk about broke and you talk about this concept of like, you know, yeah, there's a very distinct time when it was like, if you're going to be in the community, you're going to be a social activist. There's this kind of like blind expectation that you kind of fit within a certain like cookie cut model, right? And growing up, it was always, you know, my mother always instilled in me, like, you know, in the bedroom I had Malcolm X,
Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King on a portrait that I had to overlook me as I slept every night, right? So I'm like, man, you got to show up in a certain type of way, right? Even though to me, like, what I'm gonna do with this, but as you grow, learn these spaces, stories, and what they mean, you start to understand the importance of how do you establish your freedom and actually execute on what this American dream is supposed to be about, right? And one of those things is about how do you have financial security, right? And so, like Hugo says, I introduced the discography to of Jay-Z to him at a young age. It was because I'm trying to instill on the people around me, like, don't get it twisted. Like, you know, Whitney has to play in the game of the white world, right? The white Eurocentric standards of expectations. And like, yeah, okay, he's talking about these things, but there's gems in between about ownership, about knowing how to navigate and code switch, about knowing how to read the room and understand, like, there's levels to it and you can excel in these levels, but you got to know how to play the game and you got to play a position. So when the time comes, a bunch of people are incarcerated for showing out and protesting, someone can come along with the money and with the snap of a finger, not hesitate to show up, right? Like when you think of the Khalif Browder story and you think about this young man whose story could have easily been washed away, when you got that person who could come in and say, all right, I'm going to executive produce this and I'm going to help shed light on this situation. Here we are at a time, it's 2020, and the incremental change hasn't been enough, right? But you do need people who can highlight and draw on those stories so we can use that as fuel to continue the conversation and to push forward change. And so, like, you know, Jermaine eloquently put it, like, you come into it not knowing what the other side is like. And then you start to see, oh, there's no other side. It's we gonna do this or you not gonna do it, right? And so you see how everyone has a role, right? It goes back to the whole village mentality. It takes a village to raise a child. But the thing that we don't talk about is who gonna be the chief, who gonna be the doctor, who gonna be the leader, who gonna be the warrior, who gonna be the hunter. And I think that there is a role everyone plays in this much larger communal village that we live in to be like, okay, well, who gonna hold the millions? And how can I get some? How can I get that so I could vote with my dollars? Because at the end of the day, I'm avoiding and boycotting so many places just by knowing, oh, you support this man and his regime and what he's trying to do. So I'm like, all right, I ain't gonna eat this. I ain't gonna shop there because I know that as small as my little $1, $2 may be, it's gonna add in to them being saying, well, now I can take and repurpose it for a message that me personally, I don't agree with, right? So be able to be like, okay, how can I create the business and the alternative to have a restaurant that people could come and say, I want to support a Black-owned business. I can come in, and that's the thing. I put it on my Twitter. I was like, the road to boycotting Amazon and In-N-Out leads to Oakland. Because in Oakland, there's a that still exists and is still pushing and is still thriving. Right? They try to throw every little twist and curveball, but there's a Black community there that is fighting to hold on to its foundation. Whereas me from the city, I can honestly say it's been fragmented, it's been destroyed. They've upped it from racism to indifference. They try and veil things behind, you know, a Black face, but in reality, when you look at the statutes and all the laws that are being passed, you start to realize they impact the Black community more than anybody else. So I look to Oakland, I look to, you know, what does the innovation look like? What does it mean to maintain that energy? Like, you know, Figo was a part of this generation where, you know, we in high school, we trying to be rappers, we're trying to be entrepreneurs. And I would never forget, I did the other me, let me be clear, the other me was working at a nonprofit and we decided to put on a music conference, right? And we had, you know, like, what was it? Talib Kweli and all these different artists come through and they shed and gave game to the kids about what does it mean to be an entrepreneur? What does it mean to be a performer, right? And I'll never forget, it was in San Francisco. We had Oakland in the building, right? We had promoted it from Redwood City to Richmond, California. And who came through was the 510. Telling me straight up, it was like, bruh, I don't even know where to go. I mean, I'm lucky I got here. I don't even know this place like that. But when they came, right, they came by the hundreds, right? They didn't to be like, oh, we
we don't know. We came to find out. We came to learn. And I was like, yo, you forever will have my love. You will forever have my admiration, because my own city wouldn't show up. I had like 20 people from the city come through, but Oakland was for show in the building. Like, and there was no reservation about the humbleness, the eagerness, and the ability to want to be a part of something. So I mean, you know, Jermaine, thank you for you know, sharing and giving that light, because I feel like people don't really get that insight, especially like, you know, LO is a global platform, whether people know it or not, right? 5 years deep, and here we are, and the internet is now a vehicle where we can reach so many, but people don't know the nuance, the context, the subtleties that go into what does it mean for me to be a black man coming from San Francisco, and then what does it mean to be a black man coming from Oakland, and the importance of history in that, right? Like, yeah,
right.
watch Black Panther and they highlight in Oakland, and we could be like, you know, woohoo, because it was a overwhelmingly like confirmation feeling of like identifying where does it come from, right?
Right.
The other end, it's like, but there's so much more richness and history here that, you know, there's no one moment in time can encapsulate, right? Like, we're highlighting you, Jermaine, because of your participation and you being in LO, but more importantly, it is about you. It's about uplifting your story and what it means to be woke and not broke.
Yeah. Thanks so much, man. Again, it's definitely a thing that, again, I feel like a message that honestly a lot of folks in Oakland do understand. And I think that, you know, with some of the things that are happening today, whether it's, you know, inside the country or outside of the country, you know, a lot of people still understand, you know, the importance that Oakland has to the culture of resisting, and just the culture that is here. You know, I feel like, you know, there are places where people are moving and people are making things happen. And I'm sure that they are simultaneously being educated about, you know, how they did it in Oakland, why they did it the way that they did it, and how it still, again, that spirit still continues.
Yeah, man. Salute to you, man. Thank you. Yeah, and it's much needed. It's so relevant more than ever. So, but we have also a special guest that just jumped in not too long ago, and we want to make sure we give everyone their flowers today for this Lyrical Legacy. June, if you could hear us, I will do the chant, because I heard the chant connect. You know, it's like what's it called? Captain Planet, how they would all connect the rings. So I'm gonna just do a chant. Lyrical One. I can't even hit that note. I'm not gonna try. But how are you, June?
You sound amazing. I'm doing well. Thank you so much, Figo. It's good to see you. It's good to see Cineo. It's good to see Jermaine Event. Oh, wow. Thank you so much. That was a wonderful interview, Jermaine. It's always nice to hear how the people can fight against social restraints, particularly financial restraints. And this is where we come in with a new form of education, not so much within the bindings of an institution, but here to share our wellspring of knowledge as we have as a collective. So thank you, Lyrical Opposition. Thank you, Lyrical Ones. Thank you, everyone who's here. I'm very thankful and excited to be a part of this Get Town that we have for tonight. So
Yes. Yeah, we've just been discussing folks' experience and just how your introduction to Lyrical Opposition, how you got introduced to folks, and the overall experience you had. Also, by the way, there's like we heard you, like, but I feel like maybe you get closer to the phone, I could hear you better, or if you have the
Okay, I do have my AirPods in. I'm gonna take these out.
Okay.
Let's try this.
Let's try that. Yeah. Am I the only one hearing that, or cross? Yeah, thumbs up. Okay, cool. Cause we.
Okay, I hope that's better.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Great. Well, if you don't mind me sharing, I started out with Lyrical Opposition many, many moons ago. And it's, for me, I just saw this movement starting in the Bay. Originally, I'm from the Bay Area. I spent a lot of time in Las Vegas, and I would come back and forth until I settled into San Jose. And that's where I met so many pioneers in the social justice movement that we now call the collective of Lyrical Opposition. And shout out to Lyrical Academy as well. So what I fancy is to do spoken word poetry with a mixture of a little bit of, in the form of a soliloquy. So many have approached me questioning my style, or more so, shall I say, intrigued. However, it's come from a place of being on stage and having a fresh perspective of taking in what's going on in the culture, taking in a temperature of the political climate, and also mixing that in with that spoken word with a little bit of jazz, impromptu scatting. So that's my style. I'm Junie B. Jones, also known as June Elizabeth. So that's a little bit about myself. I love Lyrical Ops so much, and I love the Bay. So
love you too, and you are missed. Like,
oh
we
goodness,
gotta, I'm glad we got to experience some shows before the whole pandemic, you know, in person. It's gonna definitely be different as we return. But yeah, I hope you come back soon.
Absolutely, absolutely. As long as the invitation is always there, it's all love. Well, let's see. Where the first half of the show was great. I'm curious as to where we're going to take the.
I just gotta say this. I love how like you jump in like certain parts of the show and you just adapt right away as we're going. Like you're like water. You know how Bruce Lee said, "Be like water." You're like legit water. You just flow into it. So I love.
Likewise.
Please keep doing that, June, because your voice is needed. And it's almost become like this, just almost part of the show where it's like, when will June jump in? And I don't know. I personally love it.
I love
but
that.
Yeah, thoughts, you guys. I know, Cross, man, salute to you, man. Like, we got to give you your flowers, man, because you be mad quiet a lot of times, and you're always the guy in the background, bro. But, man, salute to you, man, because you started this, and it started as a rap group, you know. A lot of folks don't know that Cross got bars, and he just decided to use his tools and his gifts in this area of supporting artists. But, man, Cross, any thoughts as you hear everyone that you've impacted? Because think about it, you impacted me, OD, Cheddy, we got June, Cineo, like you've literally impacted all of us. What are your thoughts, bro?
That wasn't me, that was Christian Bustos.
Oh yeah, it was Christian Bustos. Yeah, my bad. Well, shout out to Christian, man.
And I'm sure it wasn't just him. He had a lot of help, you know?
Okay.
He had a lot of help, you know, advisors, mentors, you know, people praying for him as well as the org, you know, a lot of people volunteering, artists volunteering their services. I'm glad some of them are getting paid. Most of them are getting paid now. But we had to do a lot of free performances, free events, and we still do a lot of those. It's just now there's more capacity, and yeah, it's just it's great to hear. It's great to see. I mean, what did Cineo say earlier? We wasn't supposed to make it past year 5. Just sundown, we still alive. Yeah. But yeah, man. I started my first business, like, it was a record label, actually. It was called Forever a Movement Entertainment, FAME, FAM-ENT. And it was Son the Gifted as well as Lyrical Opposition, the duo. We got the name because we had opposite styles of each other. Like, and it was like inspired by like, first label failed, and then Lyrical Opposition is what we kept going with. And then it became we added Alex, added OD, it turned into a rap group. And then we started doing workshops. And then why is a hip hop group doing workshops? That's an organizations thing. So it was less about us as a rap group, and it became more about the community. And people started claiming Lyrical Ops. So I'm like, okay, let's turn Lyrical Ops into the Army, better yet the Navy, just like Cineo said. And yeah, so we about this X-Men hype. We about this, you know, Last Airbender Avatar. We on some WWE, WWF stables. We just trying to create intellectual property like Vince McMahon, and you know, build up these artists for social change, as well as, you know, the hybrid artist educator that is in the schools, in the juvenile system, in areas of influence, but at the same time put that mask on and spit some bars at night. That's what it is.
Man, right on, man. Well, salute to you, man, for real, for real. Because, yeah, I told you offline and online the impact you made in my life and how completely it's changed me being part of this family. So appreciate you. That's from the heart. Yeah. And I just got to try this again. Lyrical Ones. Hey, June, you got to take it away. This is where I pass the mic.
I would say close to the beginning of LO. So not quite the full 5 years, but I would say maybe 3.5.
Okay. And so with that, you know, you saying that you are a poet, you incorporate scat into your artistry, and also, you know, kind of like the jazz like beat and influence. When did that start for you? Like, how did you cultivate that? Like, take me through the journey and the process. Like, how did that happen?
Sir, thank you so much for asking. Well, you know, it's one of those things that, as I mentioned, it was an impromptu, and it's stuck with me ever since to do spoken word soliloquies and scat through jazz. So it's quite an event for me when it comes to performing, because it's not so much sharing my heart through, yes, lyricism, but also fine-tuning, and yes, just that fine-tuning different original pieces that have heavy bass lines or a bit of a different flow, something that you wouldn't expect. So this is where, as an artist, my heart is really shown bare, because I'm doing something that has yet to be done.
So like at what point in your life did you say, like, okay, you know, I'm gonna be a poet? Like, was it the poet? Like, did you write the poem and then realize, like, I gotta do this? Did you see another person do it? Like, how did that happen?
Who inspired you? Thank you so much for asking who inspired me. Oh, you know, I've had so many different role models and so many different influences in my life. I'm a huge avid listener of every style and genre of music. So and also in school I studied music education, so I have a bit of an ear for melodies. So I would shout out my old alma mater, UNLV. That's where I went to school to study music. But as for poetry, I just recall being in the 4th grade and being told, oh, we have a warm-up today. You can write a short story, and I always wrote poetry. And then it wasn't until I was a young adult, I started hearing these melody lines. Once again, shout out, thank you to all the faculty and staff that poured into me at UNLV and throughout my all throughout my studies. But I started hearing all these different melodies. And it wasn't until one day I decided to put the two together. And this is something that I hope to do more, not only with live performances, Zoom performances, but also with recordings as well. So, hello, this is what we're working on. Hopes to be working on soon is recording my pieces and also mastering them with music. But it's always been in me to share my heart and to be a little bit on the avant-garde side. So I love stretching the boundaries of what people perceive art to be.
Okay, I respect that. I appreciate that. I mean, that's always necessary. I mean, if there's gonna be an evolution or a revolution, you know, people have to be willing to take those risks and bare their soul. And I appreciate you calling that out, to say that you're putting your heart out there in the most vulnerable of ways by trying to craft something you discovered. So, you know, with that, gravity does happen. Gravity happens to us all. It will try, but it will fail at the same time. But you know, moving forward with that, right? You know, to me, it's like, what was the process like for you to, one, get involved with Lyrical Ops, and then what made you keep coming back? Like, what made you say this is something that is a part of my life?
Thank you so much for asking. I really do appreciate how we're tying everything back into this source, which is Lyrical Opposition, that we are all plugged into. And for me, what really powers me to keep going is the fact that there's no other force like this that I've seen in my state. Oh, here we go. There's gravity working and gravity not working once more. But I've yet to see another force such as this in the Bay Area, in California, on the West Coast, of where there are so many creative like minds joining together to push social justice reform in so many different avenues. And this is needed. And it's been needed, and it's going to be needed for those who are listening, for those who have yet to listen, those who have heard us since Lyrical Ones, the first episode. But I'm just so happy that we are joining together and constantly gaining momentum. So the more the merrier.
Okay. So, I mean, walk me through what are some of the previous June projects, and like, kind of, you know, what was the journey like through those projects in relation to your journey with Lyrical Ops?
Wow, thank you so much for asking about my associations outside of LO. I would say that at the time that I was living in San Jose, a lot of my work coincided with different projects. So I would have something each and every day where I'm working with different affiliations. But one that sticks out to me is a church affiliation with Cathedral of Faith. They gave me, I would say, my biggest platform of sharing original work, where I was supported with a full, I think, 10-piece band in front of a live audience of 2,000 people. That was also broadcasted throughout the Bay Area on local television. So I'm very thankful to have that exposure. However, that's not why I'm in it. It's my heart to share creative perspectives. However, with a focus on helping others. And I feel as if that is where I feel the most fulfilled.
I feel that. I see where you coming from. I mean, it is one of those things that can be enough the importance of highlighting identity. I you know, so many people have shared their stories, and the guy that really kind of comes full circle, they were able to really realize self, or they were able to explore who they are, whether it be through their faith, whether it be through their you know, their own personal struggles or their relationships. They were able to kind of define themselves and then come out the other end with, you know, more information or more inspiration, or just, you know, more belief in themselves, right? Because it's one of the things where people forget the balance, right? You place your belief in a faith, and sometimes you forget about how do you feed that belief back into yourself, right? I hear these stories about people then being able to take that energy, right? You find confirmation among people who are praising and giving faith one direction, but then those moments of them snapping their fingers to your pieces is given in those moments of identifying with what you say, is given in those moments when you get to be vulnerable and people embrace you above others. kindness, and I feel like that's what LO is able to provide a lot of artists. So with that, take me through the journey of now where you are. What is it in terms of your artistry and what you want to share?
Thank you for allowing me to share my next steps, and to be quite abrasive on myself. I have an idea of where I want to go, but for the sake of saying that nothing is set in stone, I'm just happy to keep moving forward. So whatever has my focus, whatever action's going to take me closer to that, in whatever direction, I might take a step closer to doing more shows as a spoken word artist. I may take a step further into being a musician. But whatever I feel is, I'm going by my own personal navigation. I'm not trying to live anybody else's life. I'm not trying to make anybody else live my life. I know that there's a lot of inspiration to be had. There's a lot of inspiration to give. So I'm just trying to be honest and transparent with my truest self. Now, when it comes to finding the new inspiration, that is where, that is where I struggle as an artist, finding new inspiration to make sure that the newest cut of Junie B. Jones or June Elizabeth, whatever people have known me as, and I, how could I forget Fox Soul, that gave me my biggest platform, and I was June B. Jones. So I'm just thankful. I just had to rehash that from the prior question. But for me, finding inspiration, that is where my work begins. It's not, when I sit down and I want to write something and I want to touch the masses. No, it's my everyday. My eyes are open. What are the patterns that I see in life? What are the patterns that I see within consciousness, or as staying woke? As here's a nod to Jermaine Hughes, but and not to those who use the term, or and those who do not use the term lightly. But I just want to say that's where, for me, my work begins, in finding inspiration in everything that I see. And to be honest, just to wrap this up, that's probably why a lot of my pieces are very eclectic. They have very eclectic content within themselves. They're complex. I find myself not having a piece written on one sole matter. It connects. It connects dots. In fact, this is the perfect time for me to give a plug-in for my piece, Connect the Dots, that I happen to do in Fox Soul, and at the next opportunity I would love to do for the Lyrical Opposition setting and an audience. It's a piece that is, and every piece is constantly being revised, but this is personally one that sticks to me, especially for what's taking place in our world today. Regarding Black Lives Matter and the change that needs to be had.
No, I feel that. I mean, side of finding inspiration, right? And, you being honest, just being upfront, like, it's not about necessarily what comes next. Like you, the best way I could encapture it is, you're not following a map, you're making your own, right? Like, you are charting new unfound territory, and you're not looking to duplicate or replicate, you're looking to explore. With exploration, trial and error, with it is surprise, with it is the joy of discovery, right? Like, people don't always think about like how much there is in like being humbled by the fact that you don't know things, right? You want to just get information and put it to use, and with you, you're very much saying like, let me just see what's out there. Let me see what's next. Let me learn through this process and growth and these what is store versus, you know what, I got this very specific goal. I know exactly how it's supposed to be, and I'm going after it. Like, it has to be highlighted and uplifted that not everyone needs to manifest. You know, that it's okay to learn more. It's okay to want to be open to new experiences and journey and discovery within yourself. Like, you are artist, right? You're in many ways a lyrical ones, a lyrical opposition, entity, right? You are your own person, but you represent what this community is about, right? It's not about being rigid and confined. Like, we've heard it in everyone else's interview about how, people try to keep you in a box, right? And you are like, oh, ain't no boxes here. Like, this is nothing but land.
Thank you. This is
What's out there. And I think that people, if you don't walk away with anything, really understand what June is saying, because oftentimes you'll get people who will tell you where they're going, and they will never get there, right? Now you have somebody who's unafraid, unabashedly going to tell you, I'm going to explore. Forget what you know, right? You obviously said it, right? Black Lives Matter. You know that. You're going to push for change, but it doesn't end there, right? The journey doesn't end when that's done. The journey doesn't end because one more step in the right direction, right? We got to keep seeing what's out there. We got to keep pursuing and going after where our heart takes us. And with that, I appreciate you giving us, with us your history, your insight, your relationship with LO, but also who you are and what you represent as an artist. Where can they find you at?
Thank you. I can't share enough how valuable I think that this time has been. You can find me at JUNEEBEELA on IG. That's JunieBLA on Instagram. Also, you can find me on Facebook under June Elizabeth. That has more of the archives of my spoken word poetry. And dating, you'll see how far we date back with LO. So how exciting is that? I want to thank you for this conversation, this interview. I want to say thank you and give a shout out to all of the listeners. And thank you, Cross Allen. I noticed we had a name switch up. So yes, for dreaming this whole thing. So I'm thankful. Thank you, Cineo, for this interview. Thank you, Figo, for the constant media releases. Like, our content is on fire right now, so people don't know. Who doesn't know? Anyhow,
Yeah.
But I just that's a little bit of where you can find me.
Right on, June. Thank you very much. Your time has been appreciated. We applaud you. As always, 5 years down, a lifetime to go. This is LO.
That's it. All right.
Yeah, no, right on. Thank you for that. I'm glad you were able to get back on, because I wanted to make sure you got your time, because it's like, you popped in. Let's make sure, we highlight you, because, I mean, come on.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm known for it. Just to pop right in and just give a good, quick 2 cents. Pop right. I like this. I think I like you guys. So I'm gonna stay a little while longer if you guys don't mind. So thank you for having me. But for right now, I will have to say ta-ta, and I will talk to you all later. Thank you. All right. Lyrical Ones. Lyrical Ones. Lyrical Ones. Lyrical Ones. Yeah, we got it.
Dipset. Bird Gang. Yeah. We still waiting for Cineo to chop up that beat.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey,
are we?
Any final thoughts?
What is this?
Everybody?
Okay.
Final thoughts.
I think it's great that we come down here 5 years in the game. You feel me? We out here in these streets. I think that it's one of those things right now where it's like, you know, we got to highlight and honor those that we have around us and give flowers to the people. Like, if anything, celebrate the ones in your life that give you positivity, love, peace, security, safety, like whatever that is. Highlight and uplift those people however you see fit. Let them know it. Tell it to them, because, you know, even though LO has been in the game for 5 years, the work is done every day. It's minute to minute, it's hour to hour, right? It's everyone coming together under a common cause and saying we want to push this forward, right? So, you know, you got to be mindful of the fact that this is about cultivating not only artists, but helping cultivate change in people, right? This isn't just about to oppose injustices, but it's to also give justice. So, you know, as much as we're here to give awareness and create systemic change, we're also saying that at our core and at our roots, it's never going to change, right? The branches may grow, they may ever be extending. We might put on new fruit on the tree, but we always going to give you that positivity, that good energy. And I think that, you know, 5 years later, it's only going to be grander and more bigger and more beautiful. And, you know, it's just a wonderful time right now. And, you know, we got to highlight and appreciate what we got. So, you know, spread that love, give that peace, and, you know, let's enjoy this.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Final thoughts, I know you just shared, June, but final thoughts as far as we wrap up.
I agree. Let's enjoy it. Let's enjoy this to the fullest. Let's write it out. Let's go as hard as we possibly can. Put all of our strength, energy, collectively. Let's connect. Let's have a goal in light speed ahead.
Man, let's get it.
Yes.
Cross, man, salute you. Salute everybody here that joined us today. Episode 4, Lyrical Ones, Lyrical Legacy Edition. I go by the name of Figo Navarro. I'm with my brother Cineo, brother Cross, sister June, and we are the Lyrical Ones. Shout out to OD, Cheddy, Jermaine for stopping by and chopping it up. It's been a great day. Yeah, let's get it.
Lyrical Ones, Lyrical Ones, Lyrical Ones, ooh, Lyrical Ones. Hey!
Look, y'all. Thank you. Look at Cross here. He's the guy on the Chappelle skit, you know.
The robot.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, I'm about to get some grub. Love y'all. Stay connected.
Love y'all. Peace and truth.